The year is 1199. The Mediterranean is a dangerous place for a Christian. Piracy and coastal raiding are common. Christian sailors, pilgrims, and villagers are routinely captured. In Tunis, northern Africa, a slave market bustles with activity under the open sun. Berber Muslim traders move through rows of human beings, pricing them carefully, because not all slaves are equal. The most valuable are Christians with skills, men who can read and write, who speak Latin or Greek, accountants, craftsmen, clerks, men whose knowledge makes them worth more alive than worked to death. And then, into this market, walks a French priest. On his cloak, a cross, blue and red. He carries no weapons, no guards. He carries himself with deliberate calm as if he belongs there. He's here to negotiate for slaves. His name is John of Matha. What happens next was something the medieval world was not prepared for. John of Matha did not come from power or wealth. He was born into a quiet farming region of France, far from the Mediterranean ports and slave markets of North Africa. A quiet inland world of farms, churches, and stone villages, where slavery was something people heard about, not something they saw. John was educated, unusually well educated. He studied theology and philosophy at the University of Paris, the intellectual center of Europe at the time. He was not a soldier, not a noble, not a man trained for confrontation. He was a priest, and for years, his life appeared ordinary, until the day of his first Mass. As John raised the host, he experienced the vision that would define everything that followed. Christ standing between two captives, one Christian, one Muslim, both in chains, beneath the sign of the Holy Trinity. It was not a vision of victory, it was a vision of captivity. John understood it immediately, not as a symbol, but as instruction. The world was full of prisoners, and the church, he believed, could not look away. John of Matha was a man of action, a pragmatist focused on real-world results in a world that accepted slavery as inevitable. He concluded that captivity was not an abstract injustice, but a functioning system. If people were being sold openly, then freedom would have to be secured deliberately and repeatedly. In 1198, John traveled to Rome. There, Pope Innocent III approved a new religious order with a narrowly defined mandate: the redemption of captives. It was named the Order of the Most Holy Trinity. The order's rule was unusually precise. All funds were divided into 3 fixed portions: one for the support of the friars, one for the works of mercy, and a third reserved exclusively for ransom. That final portion could not be repurposed. The rule also anticipated a problem most charitable efforts avoided addressing: shortage. It allowed for a contingency few expected ever to be used. Soon after its approval, John organized the first missions across the Mediterranean. Trinitarian friars traveled unarmed into Muslim-controlled territories, wearing habits marked with a blue and red cross. Their purpose was declared openly. They did not attempt rescue, they negotiated. Slave markets in cities such as Tunis operated on clear economic logic. Captives were assessed by labor potential and ransom value. The Trinitarians focused on those last likely to be freed by family or state intervention, particularly clergy, the elderly, and the infirm. Ransom was paid in cash. Agreements were recorded. Released captives were transported back to Europe by ship. For a time, the system functioned as intended. Then, the money ran out. At that point, the mission should have ended. Most would have withdrawn. The captives would have remained. Instead, the Trinitarians chose to do something so unexpected that it changed how they were viewed by slave owners, by church authorities, and by the medieval world itself. A lot of hard work goes into making these videos. I produce them, write them, and edit them myself. If you want this channel to continue, all I ask is if you're enjoying this video, hit the like button. It costs you nothing, and the more you share these videos, the more people will learn about saints and miracles. Make sure you subscribe so you won't miss an episode. I want this channel to grow so I can spread the word about these incredible stories with more people. Thanks for your support. When the Trinitarians could not pay, they didn't leave, they stayed. When ransom funds were exhausted and negotiations stalled, the friars invoked the contingency written into their rule. They offered themselves in exchange for the captives they had come to free. This wasn't symbolic, it was contractual. Friars remained behind in Muslim-controlled territory as guarantees of future payment, while the redeemed captives were sent home. In effect, they became prisoners voluntarily. Contemporary accounts confirm that this practice was used. It carried real consequences. Disease, forced labor, abuse, and death were all possibilities. There was no assurance that funds would be raised quickly or at all. But the decision changed everything. Slave owners began to understand that the Trinitarians did not bluff. If they promised payment, they would return. If they could not pay immediately, they would absorb the risk themselves. Reputation replaced force. Over time, negotiations became more predictable. Trinitarians were tolerated, sometimes even expected, in slave markets across the Mediterranean. Their presence signaled serious intent. Not rescue attempts, not rebellion, but transaction followed by fulfillment. John of Matha did not live to see the full reach of what he started. He died in 1213, having spent his final years still organizing, still traveling, still focused on captives rather than recognition. The order he founded endured. For centuries, Trinitarian friars redeemed tens of thousands of captives, Christians and eventually others across North Africa, Spain, and the Mediterranean world. John of Matha did not end slavery, he did something more precise and more demanding. He made freedom someone's responsibility. Slavery in the time of John of Matha was legal, profitable, and largely unquestioned. Christian captivity was considered a misfortune, not a collective responsibility. John refused that distinction. He didn't challenge the system with force or ideology. He entered it, understood its logic, and accepted its cost. Freedom was negotiated. Promises were honored. Risk was borne personally. What made John of Matha unusual was not his compassion, but his willingness to make compassion inconvenient. He built an institution that functioned when emotion faded and attention moved on. John made it perfectly clear that freedom has a price and someone ultimately must pay for it. But what do you think of John of Matha? Was he a hero or a fool? Leave your opinion in the comments section. Tell us where you're watching from, and don't forget to hit the like button.